Hello, this is Rocky. This is a tutorial on how to use the import solids functionality in GibbsCam to provide both a finish, contour, and a stock roughing body for typical turning operations. I'm going to go to my File menu and say Open. Down below here, I'm going to point to the Files of Type pull down and make sure I'm set to Parasolid, which is the file I'm going to retrieve. I'm going to go to my Documents folder and into the folder where these files are stored. Virtual CD Trainer and the trainers. And I'm going to first import the finish turning solid. Notice the X underbar T extension for the Parasolid file. Open that. Set to horizontal lathe, generic shank, solidify, remove unneeded topologies, and simplify should be always turned on. Say OK. And it brings in the finished solid. And notice we have some characteristics on this solid. We have an OD here, and a turn, and an ID. Look at the front. You can see the bore through the part. Notice we're in the XZ plane here for turning. Back to the top view again. And I'm going to right mouse click on this body and give it a name. Just go to right mouse click and go to Properties. And I'm going to call this Finish Body. That's exactly what it is. Notice it's set for part here. Hit the Apply button. Also want to import the starting stock body. Import. And again, we're going to go to the folder where these files are stored. And trainers. And it's set for Parasolid again. And that's the stock body, solid. So OK. Again, we're going to do the solidify, remove unneeded topologies, and simplify, and say OK. And we now have two bodies. I'm going to unzoom this. And if I double click on the first one, notice it brings up the body bag. And there's the finished body. And there's a stock body. I'm going to double click on a stock body inside the body bag. It brings it back. Notice the body bag automatically comes open here when you double click on a solid. And I'm going to use the same technique here. We're going to right mouse click on this solid, go to Properties. We're going to call it stock. The name's not important. What is important here is we determine, or we set the designation here for stock in the Properties and hit the Apply button. Now I'm ready to do machining. I'm going to close my body bag and I can put this body away and bring back the stock body. I'm going to go to the top view again. I can hide my body bag. Notice we've correctly oriented the solid so that the starting Z is on the face of the part here, and obviously X is on center line. I'm going to bring up a thing we call, I'm going to go to my file preferences here. I want to turn on my graphics here and go into a different type of graphic display mode. I'm going to go to the GibbsCam 2006. And notice when we do that, we do a redraw here. Let me change this resolution again here. Go into a different display type. SolidWorks maybe, try that. And let's go back to the preferences. No OpenGL. I think the screen capture thing is affecting my resolution on the screen here. Apologize for that. Anyway, we're going to go back into the top view. And notice that under my pull down menus, we have this little thing we call the toggle profiler. When I click on the toggle profiler here, it brings up this green mesh. And what it does, it finds every characteristic of the solid at the center line of the part. Notice that if I do a left mouse button, drag a window here, it's highlighted the detail. There's the front turn, an angle, the OD, front face, and undercut, and then a chamfer on the bore, and then a bore through, and a little back chamfer on the back of the part. So it's found the characteristic of the solid at the center line of the part in the XZ plane. All I need to do now is bring up my tool list and my operations picker and process list. I've already got my preferences set here, so I'm going to first select a rough and finish OD and face, and it brings up an 80-degree diamond with a 1/32 tip radius. remember to bring the tool back, just double click on the tool, and it shows me the tip radius of a 32nd, the inscribed diameter of a 1/2 inch, and a thickness of 1/8. I want to make sure that I've got my turner or the tool holder highlighted here in my type of bar, and the orientation is correct. I want to make sure it's a left hand 80 degree, and I put a comment here, 80 degree left hand face and turn. And it brings up, when I selected that process, it also brings up here the roughing process. Again, just double click on the process. I'm going to say use auto clearance here, and remember the auto clearance value here, material only clearance, should be the same as the global part in your part stock definition. Auto clearance should be checked on 100 thousandths here. Notice we're changing the tool somewhere off the OD to part at X of 20, say, and Z of 5 for a typical OD turning operation here. I'm not really going to be too concerned here with what the speeds and feeds are going to be. OD approach type, we're going to go forward. This value here is my depth of cut per side. Notice it says XR. I'm going to leave 8 thousandths on all XR features and Z of 4 thousandths. Again, speeds and feeds I'm just going to leave as default here. A material only 100 thousandths. What that means is I'm going to wrap it to and retract from the starting stock plus 100 thousandths, so we don't have any crashes. And for now, I'm going to turn all my shape axes on down below here. The cut direction axes should all be checked on. Remember, these restrict motion, so if I've got them all checked on, I'm allowing the software to take the tool wherever it can physically go. And notice that the Do It button down, and notice also there's a process down below, a contour process here that takes the stock off. So I'm going to leave a little bit of stock with the roughing tool and remove with this final operation here. Again, all the cut axes are turned on. Again, an OD approach, forward face, and I've turned off here all my lines and approach stuff. Don't need to worry about too much of that with turning. So I've got two processes down here in the lower left, or two processes to be applied to the geometry I select. Notice that the Do It button in my operation picker here is still grayed out. What that means is I've not selected geometry to apply the processes to. I'm just going to click someplace on the starting line here. Notice that when we have a solid model, it gives us the ability to only select the direction we want to go. So I'm going to go outside the part here. I'm going to hold down the Control and Shift at the same time and click on the OD of the part. I'm going to turn this back past the OD, and remember here, we need to, if we're grabbing this with a chuck or whatever, we need to pay some attention here to where the fixturing is. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to go ahead and start on this front chamfer and take the OD turn. This heavy blue line here represents the section we're going to cut. All you need to do is click on the Do It button, and it roughs the OD and finishes the OD from the starting stock condition. And remember here, as long as these two operations are selected, this says redo it. I'm going to modify those operations. And the rule of thumb in when using any operation inside GibbsCAM is when you're happy with the operation, click someplace down below the operation list. This button here should say do it, not redo it. Go over to your process list. Control select both of those operations, or processes, hit the delete key and throw them away. Think of this area on the left hand side here as a scratch pad. So we're ready to add the next tool. I'm going to go ahead and add the rough and finishing ID, and what that does is it creates a boring bar here with again a 1/32 tip radius. It's an 80 degree diamond, 1/2 inch IC, 1/8 thickness, and we're calling it 80 degree with a 1.47 minimum bore for boring. And it again has the orientation here for a boring bar, and it's going to be pointing exactly the way it's held in the turret. Close the window off. If you look at the process down below here, it's going to be a front ID approach. You want to make the little graphic here look exactly the way you want to go. Again, we're going to go forward. This is the amount of stock we're going to take per pass. So we're going to slow it down just a little bit for a boring operation. Typically, you don't want to take as much with a boring tool as you would with a turning OD tool. And so we're going to go 80 thousandths per side here, per pass. And I'm going to leave, again, 8 thousandths for finish on the every X value and 4 thousandths on every Z. And I've also got here a finished contour tile, so we're going to take all that stock off. We're going to take all these things to 0 here. No stock on either X or Z. Make sure again it's a front ID, a forward approach. All the shape axes again are turned on. Remember again, the Do It button is still grayed out because we haven't picked any geometry to apply the process to. All I need to do is click someplace on that blue start at the bore. Again, take the start point, the white circle somewhere off the part. Control Shift, select someplace on the bore, and remember the black circle is the end point. So the black square here is the end feature, the white square is the start feature, the white circle is the start point, the black circle is the end point. So I'm going to start on this bore at this point, travel from right to left. The heavy blue arrow designates the way we're going to travel. It's going to take that chamfer, and we're going to finish on the bore someplace behind the part. Again, remember, you need to take in consideration here, wherever your fixturing is, I'm going to click on the Do It button. And notice it only turns here, since I've got material only turned on here, and a 100 thousandths clearance turned on, or auto clearance turned on, it's only going to cut where the stock is designated to be in the operation. So it's rough from the bore of the stock to the finished bore of the finished profile. And I'm going to do an isometric view here, and I'm going to go into the flash CPR. Let me do a rewind and go ahead and play this thing. Boy, that's really some bizarre results there on the turning of that thing. Again, I think this graphic, this screen capture has something to do with that. Let me see if I can get a different preference here, as far as see if I can go into a different. Still got some really weird results here on the flash turning operation. But as you can see here, we're turning the part correctly with the finished DOD. Let me zoom down here so you can see exactly what's going on. And we finished the OD and finished the chamfer and the bore on the front. Hope this tutorial will help you in arriving at the correct operations here when you're importing a solid model. And again, I appreciate your time. Thank you.